In this lesson, we're going to begin some calculations that will take us into the world of banking, checking accounts, savings accounts, and so as far as Excel goes and the math that we need to explore banking in some detail, we need to be able to calculate simple and compound interest. And so we'll begin our exploration of banking through Excel by learning to calculate simple interest using the simple interest formula. So the first step for you is to go to Schoology. And so go ahead and get logged in to your Schoology account and then go to our course and look for the banking folder. And then within banking, look for simple interest. And then what you will want to do is to download and save interest assignment number 1. So go ahead and pause the video and get that taken care of. And when you finish that, what you will have is this document right here. And that's the one you need. Simple interest. And then come on back and we will continue. Once you have that open, go ahead and open a blank Excel worksheet and name it Interest Assignment 1. And get that saved into your Dropbox. And then the first step in your new worksheet will be to go ahead and we'll title that Simple Interest Assignment 1. And then let's go ahead and put in the formula for simple interest just for practice. I equals PRT, and we'll talk about that. Got that right here. I equals PRT. So simple interest is calculated by using this formula. Now, we will talk more in class about interest, but interest is the price for using money, for borrowing money. It's also the amount that you can be paid when you invest money, either into a savings account or if you invest money into some type of stock market account or a mutual fund. So it's a price paid for the use of someone else's money. And so simple interest uses the formula I equals PRT, which means interest equals principal times rate times time. Principal, and we'll talk in terms of borrowing money. Principal is the amount of money you would actually borrow. Rate is the percentage rate that you would pay for borrowing that money. And then T is the amount of time in 1 year that you would pay for the use of that money. So there's P is the amount of money borrowed times the rate, the interest rate, times the amount of time that you borrow the money or hang on to somebody else's money. So let's go ahead and get this problem set up. And I'm just going to go ahead and put in our categories here. So here in Part A, we have 4 calculations to do. And in this problem, Part A, we need to calculate just the simple interest. I'm going to go ahead and set my columns. And then I'll go ahead and set those to 12. And put them in the center. And put a border under everything. So problem number 1, I'll go ahead and put in the information. So there's the principal amount. In the first problem, it is $5,700 at an interest rate of 11%. Now, there's two ways that we can enter this percentage. We can put it in as a decimal, which would be 0.11, like that. The other way we could do it is we could click percentage and then just simply type 11. Or we could put 0.11, check mark. Oops, I already had that formatted as a percentage. Let me go back in time there. If we put it in as a decimal, 0.11, then we could go ahead and format that as a decimal to 11%. And for these problems, we don't need any decimal places. Generally, though, we do like to have one decimal place. Now, next is time. And notice on the problem, it's 8 months. And you will recall that I told you with this formula, I equals PRT, time has to be in terms of a year. So what you must do is ask yourself, how many years is 8 months? You cannot do this. If you do that, applying this formula will calculate it as 8 years, which is clearly a lot more than 8 months. So what we have to do is we have to ask ourselves, how many months is, or how many years is 8 months? I'll give you a minute to think about that. Well, if you said that it's less than a year, you are correct. 8 months is less than a year, but how many years is it? Well, we need a fraction, and so here's how we do it. Just ask yourself how many months in a year. So what we can do is just put in the fraction of a year that is represented by 8 months. And if you want to reduce it to lowest terms, you are certainly welcome to do that. I'm just going to put it in as 8 divided by 12, just to make it very clear what it is that we are doing. So that's how we would calculate the fraction of a year represented by 8 months. And we do that, and then that will return the decimal value right there, and we're going to keep it just like that. And so that's how many months, or how many years, represented by 8 months. And now we can calculate the interest just by applying this formula. Interest is equal to the principal amount times the rate times the time in years. So it's going to be this simple. Equals the principal times the rate times time. Check mark. $418 in interest. So what that means is that if you were to borrow $5,700 at a rate of 11% and hold on to that money for 8 months, you would have to pay an interest fee of $418 in addition to having to pay back the principal amount. So go ahead and complete Part A, and then you can complete Part B, calculating the interest, and then leave another column. We can use column F over here for the maturity value, and I will come around and show you how to calculate the maturity value. Essentially what you're going to do is simply take the principal amount, add the interest to it, and that will equal the maturity value. So good luck with that, and I'll come by and see how you're doing.